Welcome back, everyone. Here we got some update news about the update occurring tomorrow on June 8th. And I want to be clear that we've had a lot of info and a lot of leaks going on. Not everything is going in tomorrow. So we're going to talk about the things that are. You can feel free to comment on things that are going in tomorrow or anything at all. I don't want to exclude that. But I just want to make sure that we know there's only so many of these things going in the minor update tomorrow. We do have another note here. Our fourth major update, Destruction's Wake, is currently being forged by the fires of the burning hell. On June 13th, we'll divulge all of its offerings in a new blog. What this means is that the major update is not in another week from now. It is not coming on the 13th. We are just getting more info. So let's get started with what we are getting as of tomorrow. The new legendary gem, Mother's Lament. I've talked about this in a couple of videos. If you haven't seen those, you should check them out because this gem is going to be insanely strong. This is a 2-star gem. This will be accessible to everybody, whether you're free to play, low spender, or a large spender. And this 2-star gem is going to be one of the highest DPS gems in the game, even over the 5-star options. So let's look at the effect here. Keep in mind this is the rank 10 effect. When you deal damage, you have a 20% chance of gaining Maternal Disdain. A 20% chance when you deal damage. That means every source of damage counts as a chance. It is so easy to get 5 sources of damage that you would almost guarantee that this gets applied. Of course, that's not how percentages work. They're not just going to get added, but you will have a very high uptime on this. 6 seconds and cannot occur more often than once every 20 seconds. This will basically be up all the time when it comes off a cooldown, essentially giving you a nearly 30% uptime. So what is active for 30% of the time? Well, a smooth 32% crit. So even if you calculate that over a long fight or a long encounter where you're just kind of doing a parse, well, you're still going to get a third of that because you have a 30% uptime. So you're still looking at a little over 10% crit, just baseline essentially, for having this for a long extended duration. And in burst situations like PvP, even better, because when you engage, you're going to get that uptime, and then when you disengage, the cooldown is going to wear off. 20 seconds is a really, really short cooldown, and this is a massive critical hit chance buff. Insanely good gem. Please do not sleep on this. Everybody should basically be using this, in my opinion, once it comes out. Merciless Monstrosity limited time event. This is Ashava, and Ashava is a world boss in Diablo 4 for those that are unaware. Now, if you're up to level 30, you'll be able to face this. This will include most players. If you're not up to level 30, you can easily do that if you have some time to play before this event ends. So make sure that you check this out. You'll get some marks of pestilence, essentially, and those can be traded for random rewards, which kind of include some basic type rewards, as well as a 1-star legendary gem. And if you acquire 88 of them, you can trade them in for a random legendary gem. Do not know if 5-star gems are in here. It just says random legendary gem. I assume this is everything. So hopefully some people get some good luck with that. Have some other rewards here that you can trade in marks for. And it looks like the legendary gem, can only be exchanged once. So that's why you would want these kind of larger rewards to kind of purchase some of the other things. So let's look at the Season 14 Battle Pass, Children of Lilith. And I kind of like this Battle Pass. As many people know, I'm not a huge cosmetic person, but when cosmetics do catch my eye, I do like them. And this one, I really like the skin there. And actually, I want to say we should give credit to some of this artwork, and I've got part of it cut off. I apologize for that. But this artwork continues to kind of improve, in my opinion. And I plan to use part of this for actually the thumbnail, so you may have seen that before you clicked. But it's nice to see that they're still putting effort into this game, and I've said it a couple of times before as well. We're even still seeing changes when systems aren't perfect. Now, there's some things that have been neglected. One thing comes to the top of my mind is the Shadow and Immortal Vault system. You know, people are now circumventing even this newest system that has gone in, basically bypassing the requirements, and so the vaults don't skip over them as immortals, and then putting them in against shadows that are severely less powerful in comparison, and really just ruining the fun in the system for everybody. So there's some things that still need attention, but they were really quick to initially put something in there. So hopefully we do see another change. We're going to get Hatred's Heritage Phantom Market. And this came out after kind of the initial leak of this info was here, that these skins are actually going to be tied to the Phantom Market. So these will have a cost. I believe it is $70. Don't quote me on that. But if you're interested in those ones, they will have the cost unless you get very lucky with that Phantom Market and pull it on one of the draws that you're able to earn. This will also start at the reset. And you'll get that initial first draw, and then after that you have to purchase them. So keep that in mind. You do that through orbs, if I recall. Now, the orbs get converted into obols, and it basically is the same thing all boiled down. So here are the percentages for things you can get. And we don't have a preview for everything, but you can check those out when it goes live tomorrow. So let me close this out. And another thing that I would like to talk about today, I've died. What's going on here? Another thing that has been really popular, been getting for comments, whispers, Discord messages, things of that nature, is, my warband is in shambles. And what's going on here? Is my warband going to recover? Well, I don't know for everybody specifically. This is very common. What's going on is there's a lot of people, regardless of free-to-play, low-reso, high-reso, whatever it may be, a lot of people are trying Diablo 4. Do I think they're all going to stay there forever? No, absolutely not. I think a lot of them are going to return. Some are still playing both like myself. Some have limited time in game at the moment because they're kind of pushing for things and enjoying the game while it's new. They're two totally different games. And we could talk about this for a very long time, but there's a lot of advantages for Diablo Immortal as a mobile game, especially for a player base that is a much higher age than when the original Diablo or even Diablo 2 came out. For a lot of people, the ability to play on mobile while they're either kind of have it at their desk to farm or get help farming, semi-AFK, or play on a couch in the evening when they might be with their family or anything of this nature is a huge advantage. Also, one thing that's actually been bothering me as an individual and may apply to some others as well, I'm actually very uncomfortable sitting in a computer chair for several hours. I typically make my videos on the PC because I have a huge preference to that. I have made a few through mobile, but again, I still have the recording done on the PC and eventually have to sit in the chair. But I've absolutely loved farming on a controller, and I've talked about that a lot. I don't PvP on a controller for many classes. Some I do, but it's more rare than not. And I do, however, pretty much farm open world, PvE, that kind of thing on a controller because it's just way more comfortable. Now, having to sit in a computer chair versus being able to relax or lounge, or something that I really enjoy, which is being outside in my garden on a nice day playing on my phone, well, I don't have that ability with Diablo 4. And I think there's a lot of people that feel that way. And I've already gotten comments from people saying things like, oh, my spouse is already upset with me. I already don't know how I'm going to keep playing this game. I'm just hoping to beat it once. And as I progress through it more and more, well, your progress really comes to a grinding halt, especially when you hit the final difficulty. You start to slow down. It takes longer and longer, just like a typical game with grinds. And there's going to be a lot of people that kind of burn out at that point, finish the story, do some of the side quests and whatnot, and then they'll probably return full-time to Diablo Immortal. Will 100% of them return? No. Let's be realistic here. There were a lot of people that were waiting for it, and some people may be disappointed with the game. Some people may try it and enjoy what they saw, not having expected to. So there will be a lot of things going on here. But in general, this has affected warbands to a tremendous degree. People are having difficulty getting their warband on. Even getting 4 members online at the same time appears to be a problem for some. I don't suspect there will be any changes to the requirement being 4 members of the warband. I think the viable solution for this is obviously give your friends and warband members some time. If they don't return to the game or they stay very inactive, you obviously would want to speak to them. Let them know that you're still looking to run warbands at specific times if that's what you do. And you may have to replace people. This is part of what happens with games over time. This game has been out for a year. We're about to see the 1-year anniversary update. That may also bring people in. I don't think you're going to have difficulty filling the warband per se, but there is the possibility that you may have to change or shift some members. That's just the reality of it. But I don't suspect any changes going to warbands. I know how many people dislike warbands. I'm aware. In fact, I'm one of them. So we don't need to kind of trash warbands in this discussion. I just want to talk about what might be affecting it, and not everybody was interested in Diablo 4, so they don't even know that the game has come out. I think if you have World Chat turned on, you probably know at this point. But there are some people that are mobile only, and some people that aren't interested in playing the other game, so just keep in mind that things are going to affect it, and this one is outside of your control. If people are playing a different game, the only thing you can control is whether or not they remain in the warband, and how you handle it with discussing with them, telling them you want to remain with rigid times, and run your warband, not only your raids, but your purges. And the purges also have been an enormous topic because people are logging on for raids and then immediately logging out. And that affects a lot of people that want to grind. So now you're being indirectly affected, where your members used to be willing to sit there AFK while you farm points, not only for yourself, but for them. But now it takes much longer for you to farm your warband points because you can't even get your members online. And this is where people are upset, because now it takes them longer to complete their daily or weekly tasks. And this is kind of the issue. So again, the solution is still probably going to be the same. I wish I had better news, but I don't at this point. I think you're still going to have to find like-minded people that want to do the same things in game as you. So if you're having trouble and Warband members don't want to do things like grind purge or farm up the points, well, you might have to make some changes, unfortunately. So final note here is going to be player versus player, because I'm getting an enormous amount of complaints. I wish I could say I was getting positives about this, but I'm not. I'm getting nothing but negative complaints. Since D4 has launched, the Battleground lobbies are worse than before. Now, I could probably insert a large number of negative words there, but let's just call it worse than ever. And what's going on here? Well, we've talked about PvPCR a couple of times, and it's still a fairly confusing topic for people. In general, the Battleground matches get formed off of PvPCR, which is your life and damage combined. When the game forms a match, it has to put 8 players on a team, otherwise the match won't start. So it has to find people that are relatively close. Now, it's actually fairly broad in what it considers close. And this just has to do with the number of people in the player pool. Well, with so many people playing a different game at the moment, or choosing to just do the daily 3 Battlegrounds, the amount of people it has to form these matches are even less than ever, basically. So the matches are getting formed, but the players within them may range from 700 resonance to 7,500 resonance. And the game doesn't care. The game just cares that it makes a match and that the PvPCR on both sides is somewhat even. That's all it can do. It cannot sit there and wait for, say, 16 7K resonance players to queue and then put them all in the same match. And there's a whole bunch of other flaws that I've brought up a numerous amount of times. You know, my biggest one is just class distribution within the Battleground, because a 7.5k barb on defense versus a 7.5k demon hunter on attack isn't a fair match. Doesn't matter what the other 7 players are, if they're reasonably balanced, that's a match that will never be won by the team on attack, because the barb is too difficult to get past for the demon hunter. Now, there's some other classes and mirror comps and so forth that can affect this, and the balancing becomes very delicate. So just for sake of saving time, we'll kind of leave it for there. But that's the explanation of why your warband may be difficult to kind of farm what you need. You may have to consider or reaching out to individuals within it and speaking to them, ask them what their plan is. Maybe they say, hey, I'm just going hard on the new game for a week. I plan to return, and that's something you're okay with. Or maybe it's something you need to consider or move some people around. There's a ton of warbands, a ton of people that are in the same situation. And in terms of Battlegrounds, I have no advice. It's in the worst state it's ever been, and that's unfortunately all I can say for it. As always, thanks for taking the time to watch, and have a great day.